All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about a designer, an engineer, and a computer that's so powerful it can optimize the infrastructure for a whole megacity. But here's the crazy part. It doesn't have a brain. Nope. In fact, it's just a single cell.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But this is the very real question we're looking at today. Can an organism with zero neurons, no central command whatsoever, actually solve problems that take teams of human experts decades and billions of dollars to figure out? You know, the answer is yes. And it's absolutely incredible. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the Tokyo Rail Network, a total marvel of human engineering. And on the right, a network grown by a slime mold in just over a day. And the layout, it's just bafflingly uncannily similar. So how on earth is that possible? What is this brainless engineer?
Okay, it's time to properly meet the star of the show. We're talking about a very specific and truly special little organism.
This is Physarum polycephalum, also known as the many-headed slime. And it's really in a class all its own. It's not a plant, not an animal, and not a fungus. Now here's the part that'll bake your noodle. What you're seeing isn't a colony of little cells. It is one single giant cell, basically a continuous bag of cytoplasm with millions of nuclei just floating around inside. And this bizarre structure, with no internal walls, is the absolute key to its intelligence.
So, if it doesn't have a brain, how does it think? Well, it's not using electrical signals like our neurons do. It thinks with flow.
The entire organism contracts and expands in this constant rhythmic pulse. It's a process called shuttle streaming. Think of it like a city's water system where pressure changes push resources where they need to go. If the flow is strong in one pipe, that pipe gets reinforced. It gets wider. If the flow is weak somewhere else, that pipe gets closed off. This physical flow is the computation. It is a beautifully simple and totally decentralized kind of intelligence. And this whole process can be broken down into this brilliantly elegant four-step algorithm. First up, exploration. It just spreads out in every possible direction, kind of covering all its bases. Second, detection. It finds food or whatever goal you've given it. This kicks off step 3, reinforcement. The flow of nutrients surges along the most direct routes between those food sources, making those pathways stronger and thicker. And finally, my favorite part, the simple, brutal rule of pruning. Use it or lose it. Any connection that isn't pulling its weight just withers away, leaving behind a perfectly optimized network. Now, this algorithm is unbelievably powerful. To see just how powerful, let's look at how researchers, led by Professor Toshiyuki Nakagaki, decided to really put it to the test. So the first big test was way back in 2000. Nakagaki's team put the slime mold in a maze with a little bit of food at the start and the finish. And at first, yeah, it filled up every single corridor. But then that pruning algorithm kicked in, and it consistently shrank itself back to leave only the single shortest path. It solved the maze every single time. Okay. Solving a maze is one thing. But what about a much more complicated real-world problem? Could it design an efficient network connecting dozens of points all at once? Well, for the ultimate test, the team turned to one of the most complex transport networks on the entire planet.
Now this is where things get really wild. The researchers put 36 oat flakes, the slime mold's favorite food, in the exact geographic spots of the cities around Tokyo. And what happened was just astounding. Look at the numbers for cost and efficiency. The slime mold's network is just as good, maybe even a little bit cheaper, than the one that took humans decades to design. And here's the clincher. Look at fault tolerance. It's comparable. The slime mold instinctively built in extra loops for redundancy, just like human engineers do, to make sure the whole system wouldn't collapse if one connection failed.
And this isn't just some cool party trick that only works for Tokyo. This same natural algorithm can accurately map out the main arteries of the U.S. interstate highway system. But even more practically, it's being used right now to design real-world solutions for today's problems.
For instance, take Dhaka, a city that is famously gridlocked with traffic. Researchers use the Physarum algorithm to design an optimal bike lane network that avoids the big clogged roads. And the result? A trip that takes almost an hour by bus could be slashed nearly in half, down to just over 30 minutes. It just instinctively finds those efficient shortcuts that a top-down human planner might totally miss.
So this all brings us to a much, much bigger question. If this one cell can do all of this, what does it actually mean to be intelligent? And that question brings us to this fascinating theory called basal cognition.
It's the idea that thinking and memory and decision-making, they aren't these special abilities that are only for creatures with brains. No, instead, they might be fundamental properties of life itself that just emerge from basic physical processes.
I mean, just look at what this one cell can do. We've seen it solve complex problems, but it also remembers where it's already been by leaving a slime trail that it won't cross over again. It gets even weirder. It can learn to anticipate things. In one experiment, after being hit with regular cold shocks, it actually started to slow down in anticipation of the next one, even when it never came. It makes sophisticated trade-offs between risk and reward. That's not just instinct, that is cognition, plain and simple.
And that leads to this really powerful thought. Maybe the complex networks we are so proud of, our transit grids, our supply chains, the internet, maybe they're not new inventions at all. Maybe, just maybe, we are just unconsciously rediscovering the exact same fundamental rules of efficiency and resilience that life itself mastered 1 billion years ago. Which really leaves you with a final thought to chew on. If a humble, single cell holds a key to designing better cities, what other profound algorithms are just humming away, waiting for us to notice them, in the forest, in the ocean, and in the very fabric of the world all around us?